What is up, everybody? You are checking out the Uncensored Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, the Hot Commodity Ant C, and thank you for joining me as I cover all things Attitude Era. We're covering Season 3, the New Millennium, and of course, New Millennium is the year 2000. We're on our road to WrestleMania, so we've got, after this episode of SmackDown, we've got one more Raw and one more SmackDown, and we've made it to the pay-per-view. We are flying through March 2000. So let's keep up with the coverage. Last we saw on Raw is War, Linda McMahon reinstated Mick Foley for one night so he can compete at WrestleMania 2000 and that special fatal four-way triple threat. And SmackDown is live on March 23rd, 2000 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And to kick off SmackDown, we have Stephanie McMahon-Helmsley and the WWF champion Triple H coming out. Triple H says, my wife has an announcement that will knock the WWF to its foundation. Vince McMahon came out here and made a three-way and gave the world a WrestleMania main event on Raw. It was made under the premise it wouldn't happen again. I proved on Raw that I am the game by beating both The Rock and The Big Show. After I was met by another McMahon waiting to screw me. Linda McMahon wants to make matches. Who the hell do you think you are to tell me what I'm going to do? I want you to tell me who you think you are. Now, Mom, don't make this difficult. Get your ass out here now. So Linda McMahon comes out on the ramp. Linda says, I am Linda McMahon and have just as much stroke around here as anyone else. Mick Foley is a deserving individual, and I will be in Mick Foley's corner at WrestleMania. And Mick Foley is coming back for one night only. Triple H says, I don't buy that. Let's pretend Mick Foley wins. What then? Linda says, I think Mick Foley will win and go on retiring as the WWF champion. The title will be vacated that night, and a tournament will take place until WWF Backlash in April to determine a new champion. Triple H says, when I injure Mick Foley, it will be on your conscience. You can push Mick Foley's wheelchair and feed him through a feeding tube. You are a cold-hearted bitch. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who wanted to call their mother-in-law a cold-hearted bitch, but Triple H is actually able to do it, and Linda is upset. However, we're looking forward to the big announcement that Stephanie McMahon-Helmsley has to make later on tonight. We then see Ivory massaging WWF Hardcore Champion Crash Holly backstage. However, this is her way of trying to get the Hardcore Championship. She smashes a candy bowl over Crash's head. However, Crash is able to escape this and keep the title. Next up, Euro-Continental champion Kurt Angle comes out. Angle says, I have been informed I have to defend both my titles at WrestleMania. This is a conspiracy. I'm going to give Mr. Benoit a taste for WrestleMania. So we have Angle taking on Chris Benoit here. Chris Jericho comes out during the match. Angle lands a belly-to-belly, a suplex, and a clothesline for a 2. Benoit lands his 3 German suplexes. Angle grabs the title belt. Chris Jericho grabs the other championship and hits both Angle and Chris Benoit with the title after Jericho applies the walls of Jericho on both Angle and Benoit. And Chris Jericho leaves SmackDown with the advantage heading into WrestleMania 2000. I love Kurt Angle's comments every time before he comes out, and I'm looking forward to see these 3 debut at WrestleMania in a couple of weeks. Vince is backstage, and Vince McMahon says he thinks Stephanie McMahon-Helmsley will announce she's pregnant and will deliver an 8-pound anteater. He announces a special triple threat triangle ladder match between the tag team champions, the Dudley Boys, as in Christian, and the Hardy Boys to take place at WrestleMania 2000. We then see Steve Blackman and Al Snow. They're at like a dairy farm, and they're trying to milk a cow. While they're doing that, the cow's milk gets on Steve Blackman. So Al Snow talks to the owner of the dairy farm while Steve Blackman grabs nunchucks, and we don't see it on TV, but he attacks the cow with those nunchucks. Poor cow. Next up, the Godfather is taking on Bull Buchanan. Bull Buchanan debuted on Raw, helping the Big Boss Man last week. Godfather lands a clothesline of Bull to the floor and tosses Bull Buchanan into the steps. Godfather lands a clothesline, and then the Big Boss Man hits the Godfather with a nightstick, letting the Godfather get the DQ victory after Boss Man and Bull Buchanan attacked the Godfather with nightsticks, laying the Godfather out. Next up, we have Al Snow and Steve Blackman taking on the Hollies. Al Snow accidentally hits the referee, and then Hardcore Holly lands a big boot to Crash. Hardcore tries to pin Crash and chases him to the backstage. Al Snow and Steve Blackman get the win by countout. Parker Holly trying to screw over his cousin, trying to get that title. After the match, TNA come out and destroy Snow and Steve Blackman. Trish Stratus then comes out and says, "We gave you what you want to see." TNA, Test and Albert. But I really don't think that's the type of TNA that the male wrestling fans want to see from Trish Stratus. Shane McMahon talks to the posse backstage and he says, "Can you imagine if you could one night beat Mick Foley, The Rock, and Triple H?" And we're going to see what kind of shenanigans this leads to later on. The Rock comes out to take on WWF Tag Champion Bubba Ray Dudley with Devon Dudley. The Rock's new theme music is from the Aggression CD by Method Man. I like his original theme song, but Bubba Ray slams The Rock into the ring steps and tosses The Rock into the crowd. Rock lands a Samoan drop and a DDT to Bubba. Devon sets up a table on the floor. Rock low blows Bubba Ray Dudley and pushes Bubba into Devon, and Devon falls off the apron, landing through the table. Rock lands a people's elbow to Bubba, and The Rock gets revenge on the Dudley boys after their tables match a couple weeks ago. Good to see The Rock out here, but that's it for him tonight. Next up, Jim Ross has Mick Foley come out to the ring. Mick says, "Linda McMahon asked me how would I like to be a part of WrestleMania. I told her, sure. Most people are happy I will be back for one more night. I think it will come down to me and Triple H. I'm going to hurt you by taking your belt, and I'll be retired, and you will be a former champion. WrestleMania will end with your WWF title in my hands." So Mick Foley promising to take the championship from Triple H. We'll have to wait till WrestleMania to find out if that happens. We get a GTV segment showing the Cat giving Terri a messed up shirt. I don't know what's going on with these two, but they're definitely being used a lot more in the coming weeks up to WrestleMania 2000. Next up, WWF Women's Champion Jacqueline defends against Lita. Jacqueline lands a hip toss and kicks Lita in the corner. Lita rolls around on top of the referee, thinking it's Jacqueline, which is kind of weird. Lita lands a Hurricane Rana, a drop kick, but then Jacqueline rolls up Lita for the win. After, though, Lita lands a suplex to Jacqueline and hits Jacqueline with a moonsault. So even though Lita didn't win the championship, she left standing. Next up, Shane McMahon comes out with the Mean Street Posse. They're dressed as The Rock, Triple H, and Mick Foley. He introduces the Big Show, and the Big Show destroys the Posse members in a handicap match. He basically lands a chokeslam to all three and puts them all together and pins them all, basically trying to show what he's going to do to both The Rock and Triple H and Mick Foley at WrestleMania. Next up, Rikishi and Too Cool take on the Radicals, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, the light heavyweight champion, Dean Malenko. Too Cool splash Eddie Guerrero on the corner. Rikishi plants Eddie with a stink face. Sky Uhati hits the worm drop, and Rikishi lands the Rikishi driver to Perry Saturn. Afterwards, X-Pac and the Road Dogg and the Radicals attack Rikishi and Too Cool until Kane and Paul Bearer came out. However, when Kane and Paul Bearer do come out, X-Pac hits Kane in the back with chairs, and the Road Dogg hits Rikishi with a chair, and X-Pac and Road Dogg have the advantage going to WrestleMania. Next up, Stephanie McMahon-Helmsley comes out for the final segment to give her announcement. Stephanie says, "I'd like to invite my mother to come out here so she could feel firsthand what I'm about to say." Linda McMahon then comes out. Linda says, "Here I am. What do you want to say to me?" Stephanie says, "I knew it was just a matter of time before you meddled into my business. It's not unheard of for mothers to be jealous of their daughters. I took away the little affection daddy showed you when I was born, and then you tried to control me. You made me make my own bed. When I turned 16, you got me a regular sports car. When I got to college, you only allowed me to get a one-bedroom apartment. At 19, I knew how to use my assets, and you taught me that. Control equals power. There's only one room for one dominant female in this family, and that's me. I didn't think you had the guts to do what you did on Raw. Triple H was right. You're simply a conniving bitch." And then Stephanie slaps her mother to the mat. SmackDown goes off the air with Linda McMahon holding her face, crying. How could her own daughter do that to her? We're going to see some more shenanigans just like this leading to WrestleMania. The McMahon family are crazy, and I'm excited for that. Until next time, stay safe and stay uncensored.